looks like we've got everybody finding their seat. That is so wonderful. Okay. Good morning. I'm Mindy Tate, CEO of Franklin Tomorrow, and welcome to Frank Talks. It is, just so you know, and I remember this, it's June 8th. It's hard to remember the day right now with all these holidays and kids out of school and things like that. So we are appreciative of you being here. A big thank you to Columbia State Community College for always being open to hosting us, and we really appreciate their support. Okay, I'm going to ask a few people to raise their hand. So how many first-time attendees do we have? Good, yay. That's great. How many Franklin Tomorrow board members? Great. We have a 25-member board of directors, and they are critical to what we do in terms of being able to accomplish an event like this and some of our other events with a staff of 2. And some of you will miss Sarah, who is our operations administrator, and she's a little under the weather today, but hopefully she'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. But we'll be in July, we will be at the Williamson County Schools EIC, the Entrepreneur and Innovation Center. I think we're still going to be in the old building, but but we'll be there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. Before we move on, somebody in here has a birthday today. Frank Harris. Let's wish Frank happy birthday. Frank is our unofficial board member, ex officio board member, but official bag man, okay? He's in charge of carrying the stuff and making sure we get it all there. So happy birthday, Frank. So we could not present our events, which include Frank Talks, held monthly on the second Monday of the month, without the support of our sustaining partners, and those include Atmos Energy. Christina was RSVP, but I don't see her here. Christina Christensen. Atmos is very involved in our community, and we appreciate that. Pape Dawson, formerly Reagan Smith, and they are also very involved in the community and in the region right now, supporting the civic education, civic engagement, and regionalism. And so our topic next month will touch a little bit on that, so we'll talk a little bit about that after the programs. And then Williamson Health. Greg Brory is not here this morning, and I am going to read something that Greg would say were he here, and then I'm going to have to get out of the PowerPoint and load the video because I can't do it any other way. So, Williamson Health recently unveiled the second commercial in its new brand campaign, Our Community, Our Mission. The campaign is inspired by something they routinely hear, that staff often form lasting connections with the patients and families they care for. In this commercial, Williamson Health is illustrating that special connection featuring their very own Williamson Health perinatal nurse, Susan Short. Williamson Health reminds everyone that its mission is rooted in caring for this community through every stage of life, and sometimes those moments of care become relationships that last far beyond a hospital stay.
I can't believe how much she's grown. I feel like it was just yesterday that she was learning how to walk.
I know, time flies.
Yes, it does. By the way, how do you know the birthday girl?
I was her delivery nurse.
What? That is amazing.
Yeah, I get birthday invites every year, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Miss Susan!
Hey, happy birthday!
Thank you.
So Renaissance Bank is our presenting sponsor for Frank Talks. They're located in downtown Franklin and in the Cool Springs area. They are a southern regional bank out of Mississippi, and we appreciate their support, and so thank you to them. Vanderbilt Health is also a partner with us in presenting Frank Talks. So got a commercial from Blood Assurance. Tim and is it Jason? Good. Tim and Jason are here from Blood Assurance. And Tim or Jason, which one of you wants to come up and say something while I transition this really quick about why we want you to know about Blood Assurance now? We need to know about them all the time, but we need you to know about them particularly now.
Yes, we are a nonprofit blood bank. We're actually the biggest blood supplier to hospitals in Tennessee, 54 years old. And as we enter summer, we call it the 100 deadly days of summer because donations go down, everybody's busy, but then demand goes up because with more travel and more activities come more accidents and more traumas. So we've got a booth back here. We actually have a drive tomorrow at the Williamson County Administrative Complex. I would love for you to come sign up. We've got a QR code back there. And I also have some other drives going on too. If you can't make it to a drive, we have a permanent center in the Cool Springs area right next to Hogwood Barbecue, if you know where that is. I figured a lot of you would. So, but yeah, we're everything we collect stays in the community where it's donated. We say give local, save local, and thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin. You know, I know how important it is being a physician and having taken care of many trauma patients in my career. Many patients that without that life-saving gift of blood might not have been able to recover. Blood Assurance is the sole provider for blood for Williamson Medical Center, and whatever's donated in our community stays in our community. This is one of the most giving communities that I have ever seen. So I'm willing to give back, and I want to set the example for other people in our community. These are professionals that draw your blood, take your blood when you donate. These folks have done this thousands of times, so they know how to make you feel comfortable. They know how to do the procedure. So they're, like I say, they're professionals in their field, and you can feel comfortable that they're going to do the right things and do it professionally.
So back to our program for today. The other question I'll ask is, how many people here are representing nonprofits or engaged with a nonprofit? That's fantastic. I know we've got some people who are relatively new to their role with a nonprofit. Dr. Cagarese is here. Raise your hand. Talk to him about, if you want to talk to him about something he started up that's really interesting. But some other new nonprofit leaders? Anybody? Hand? Tina's, so when we look to put together a people to know, we're looking not just for newcomers, but also for people who are looking for new opportunities and who are maybe transitioning their role, or their nonprofit is taking on a new project. Today, we are featuring 3 nonprofits. One of them is a long-time member of our community. Another has been here for, I think we're celebrating 10 years of Studio 10. 10 or more years, yeah, much longer, but in the Turner. But then we have a new project that's being started up called the Doorstep Project. So I'm going to ask Sharon Stewart, Tina Doniger, and Mark Flesher to come up, and we're going to learn a little bit about these 3 nonprofits and these people, because we do need to know who you are, by the way.
I am about to tell you something that some of you already know, either through personal experience or through the experiences of a loved one. For those of you who don't know, you're probably glad you don't know. This image represents 10 families that are survivors of domestic violence. Of those 10 families, over 60% leave and go back. Of the 60% that leave and go back, over 97% of them do that more than once. So for those of us who are not familiar with this, why on earth is this so difficult? For those of us who are, you completely understand it is really complicated. And there are a lot of reasons that this happens. Housing, keeping a roof over the head, shelter for the children, shelter for the pets, money, transportation to get to work, food. And the number one reason that people go back is hope, because they're just sure this time it's going to be okay. The sad thing is that of the people that leave and go back, what we know is that they are more likely to be injured or killed. So this is what the Doorstep Project does. You see 3 images here. The first one represents leaving and getting to the emergency shelter. The last one is stability and independence. There's a place in between, that's transitional housing, and that's what Doorstep Project does. I have to check my notes. I'm not like these theater people, I don't remember it all. Oh, okay, yeah.
I need a script.
So the Doorstep Project provides affordable transitional housing in Williamson County. And I did say affordable housing in Williamson County in the same. Okay, so you understand the problem, right? You get it. I'm Sharon Stewart. I came to the Doorstep Project through my Rotary Club, and I see some of my wonderful Rotarian friends here. And you know how Rotarians are. When asked to serve, the answer is always yes. I stepped up to help serve with the Doorstep Project, and what was just an opportunity for service became a passion for me, for their mission. The organization was founded several years ago by the same lady who founded the domestic violence shelter here in Williamson County, and it's been here for over 25 years. A lot of you know about Bridges Domestic Violence Shelter, and she still is very involved day to day with these organizations. Her energy and her life is all about supporting these organizations and these people. The thing about Doorstep Project is that we intend to turn the safety that people find in that emergency shelter into long-term stability and independence. This is what success looks like. This is a family with a parent who can focus on work, children who can focus on school, children who can, because their family can afford to stay in Williamson County with help from Doorstep, still go to the schools that they love with their friends and their teachers who love them. What we know from the data is that stable housing after emergency shelter hugely improves the outcomes for these families. And that's not really a surprise. It makes sense. Here's how Doorstep helps. When a family comes into the emergency shelter, they are assigned a case manager. They also have the opportunity to work with support groups. For the families that need extra time after leaving the emergency shelter, which is usually for 6 to 8 weeks, we will have them sign a 1-year lease for a Doorstep house. They contribute up to 30% of their earnings to the rent. The case manager that they worked with in the shelter stays with them throughout their entire journey. They are welcome, and many do continue to participate with the support groups that they were in at the emergency shelter. The beautiful thing about that is a lot of those people are still going after years, and they move beyond being survivors to being mentors for other people. So the bottom line for the Doorstep Project is that we want to make sure that none of these people ever have to turn around and go back. That really is our mission. So this is what we look like. We have 4 homes in Williamson County. They're not all in a row, but I really like this picture. They are located in different parts of Williamson County. The houses, some of them do kind of look like this. They're modest homes, but they're in nice, safe neighborhoods with a yard for kids and for pets. I have a request for you today. If you've learned something about Doorstep, I would ask that in the next 2 or 3 days, you tell one person about the Doorstep Project. And please feel free to take a picture of the QR code. It goes to our website where you can find most of this information that I've just shared with you. If everybody in here tells one person, you may never know. That one person that you tell may need to know because they need our services. They may know someone who needs our services. Or they may be moved by the mission like I was and become a great friend of the organization. So I am proud to tell you that I was going to say we've served 43 families during the lifetime of the organization. I think we're up to 44. And as far as we know, with all the people we've kept in touch with, 100% of them continue to live independently. Thank you.
That's fantastic news. And so is it the Doorstep Project dot? Do you remember what the website is? Because some people won't.
If you look for the website, it's, oh yeah, it is doorstepproject.org.
Okay.
Use it.
Use the QR code.
Use the QR code, or look for Doorstep Project. The other thing is a lot of our material has Doorstep run together, but if you look at our Form 990, there's a space in there. So I'm sorry, I'll talk to the marketing and branding people and let them sort that out. Thank you.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Mindy.
Thanks so much. Any questions for Susan? I'm sure. Ugh.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm impressed it's 100% that you have that are living independently, but how do you still keep them safe? I mean, that's my concern is because when they try to leave, you know that somebody's coming after them.
You're exactly right. The location of the homes is a closely guarded secret. As a matter of fact, we keep that so confidential. The homes are held by a trustee, not by the organization, so people can't access that information. We occasionally have people come do work days. HCA's been a great friend to us, and they'll send a group out to help us like deep clean a house in between residents. We don't let people bring their phones because they take pictures that have geolocation on them. Confidentiality is a huge issue with safety, and so we're very careful about who we put in these homes and where we put them, because there is sometimes a problem with someone following a child home from school. So that's a great question, and it's something that's always top of mind with us. Thanks for asking.
Right. So you said you were in Rotary. Which of the 5 clubs in Williamson County are you in?
If you list them by order of day, I am in the #1 Franklin Breakfast Rotary Club. The mayor.
So she's in the Downtown Breakfast Rotary, and they meet on Wednesday mornings. There are 4 other clubs, Rotary clubs in Williamson County, as well as Kiwanis and Lions. I'm not sure Kiwanis is that active. Does anybody know what Rotary means in old native language? It means couldn't find Kiwanis. No. I give the Kiwanis a hard time, but they're doing their work, and the Lions are doing great in our community as well. So I first met Tina years ago when working in Nashville and knowing a little bit about what she was doing there. And so I was so excited to hear that she was headed to Williamson County, where she's now working with Saddle Up. But tell us a little bit about your experience, and then we can launch into your slides and video, okay?
That'd be great. I'm Tina Doniger. I'm the CEO of Saddle Up. I've been there 90 days. We're not counting. No one's counting. No. Yes, I met Mindy years ago. You might recognize me from disaster relief. I've been the CEO of the Community Resource Center for the last 7 years and left in December. So really seeing Nashville and Middle Tennessee through a series of man-made and natural disasters, beginning with the tornado in 2020. And then CRC, the Community Resource Center, working in hygiene, the hygiene space. So primarily making sure that our schools, nonprofits, places like the Doorstep and Bridges have access to free hygiene, including shampoo, deodorant, period supplies, et cetera. So I'm not a stranger to Williamson County. Prior to taking on the role at CRC, I was the Chief Development Officer for Susan G. Komen, and I brought the Race for the Cure to Maryland Farms. And we had some amazing years as that was the race home for many years. So after taking a break from the CRC, I really was looking for a new role that allowed me to really see the families that we were being impacted. I'm going to stand up. Some of you are crinking your neck in the back. This chair's a little low. So, at the CRC, we are a partnership model. And so I was not really seeing the end user who was getting the soap and shampoo. We could go visit a school or a nonprofit, but the reality of seeing what was happening just wasn't what I was doing every day. And so now I get to see these faces every day. And this is our why. So Saddle Up has been around for 35 years. As an actual entity, we've been around a little bit longer than that. But 35 years ago, 4 individuals came together and said, it's great that kids have access to animals, but what if kids really had access to horses and the relationship and the positivity and the changes that happen with that one-on-one opportunity? And so 35 years ago, we have a farm in Hillsborough off of Old Hillsborough Road, 34 acres, 28 horses, and we're going to give you a little glimpse into what that looks like.
There's just something very magical about Saddle Up.
There's this peaceful, safe, sanctuary feeling.
I need a high five too. That was so awesome.
They really get what it is to deal with kids with special needs. There's a lot of laughing, there's a lot of carry on, but at the same time, they're still working very, very hard.
Twist, right and left.
So Saddle Up is what's considered an equine assisted services program. Our horses are the therapy tool.
I think all horses are awesome, but these are exceptionally awesome horses.
My kids tend to reach their goals faster when I'm able to incorporate the movement of the horse, because it's something that can't be duplicated. Even on a therapy ball, I can't give that client that same rhythmical, repetitive movement in all 3 planes of movement that the horse can impart to them.
And kids think it's like so much fun, and it is fun.
We're playing monkey in the middle.
He doesn't realize that it's work, because that hard work is disguised in a package that happens to be a horse.
Sitting up straight.
Horses that Saddle Up do some really amazing things. I've seen them help kids say their first word.
They told us she probably wouldn't speak, but as soon as she gets on the animal, she just turns into a chatterbox.
I'm going to Pluto.
You're going to Pluto?
Yes, yes.
Saddle Up is providing that confidence that we were hoping for.
It's a huge confidence boost.
Having a child with special needs, there's a lot of additional expenses. So even though our fees are lower, we still offer scholarships. It goes back to that motto of where all children are equal in the saddle. We don't want money to be a barrier.
We can't forget the whole family when we're trying to have our kids have the best experience.
It's been a soul saver for me. They've been there for us every step of the way.
When you're pregnant, you pray for a healthy child. When you find out that your child has developmental disability, you pray for a light at the end of the tunnel. And I can say to this day, without any hesitation, that Saddle Up has been that brightest light for us.
The gentleman that you saw at the end, that's Connor. Connor came to us at 2 years old. He is still active at the farm. He is a stable hand every Saturday morning and comes and cleans out the stables because he has graduated from the program. So a lot of people are like, why the horses? Horses don't see a disability. They just see the rider. They have that connection. For those of you that have not been around horses, when you get into about 5 to 8 feet of a horse, I'm going to use you as my guinea pig here, your breathing changes, they begin to match the just everything that you are doing, your attitude, your feelings, all of that begins to kind of become simpatico in a lot of ways. When they say that kids have said their first word, they've had, it's usually walk on. because that is the first thing that they say once they are mounted on a horse and proceeding into the arena. What we talk about therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, those are the 3 therapies that we currently offer on the farm. And so we do that as standalone. So we have a therapy gym that they're in there with a licensed therapist. They're getting their therapy that has been diagnosed by their doctor, and then we add the horses to it. So you see them spinning, that's working on that core strength. That's working on their stability on an uneven horse. Now, able-bodied riders are still very important because these horses are a little bit older. They've already had a first life. A couple of them that were in there have won major competitions. We have a pair of horses currently on the farm that won the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas several years ago. And so our horses are coming back for a second career. And that's when we talk to people, we're like, we're looking for horses that need a second career. They're bored in the pasture. And so we go through training with them. We teach them how to have a ball thrown from it or go through the horse wash. You saw the pool noodles. That is the horse wash in our sensory field. Not many horses like that. So these are very special horses. But the more special that they are is that they've got a rider on there that doesn't sit like they're supposed to sit. They haven't learned that skill or they don't have that core strength. And so we use able-bodied riders. We call them pony pals. They come through and do some of the training, that we need them ridden every week. But the confidence, the balance, communication, you saw the use of the stickers on the muzzle and the saddle, like that is part of what we do every day. We typically work with children 2 to 26, so children to young adults. We also have an above the ground, which is pretty much everybody else. So we're working with veterans homes, trauma families, children with trauma. So it is not just a physical disability, it's anxiety, it's autism. We're seeing just that shift in what that communication of a disability is. I would say the other thing is this is about social skills. Very few of our children are actually in one-on-one lessons. Most of them are in 3 to 4 other individuals at the same time. So they're making this core group of just like, I see Cassie every Wednesday. Cassie and I ride together. And so they begin to recognize that person as they come in. They begin to recognize the staff. They want to know which horse they're riding on that day. So it becomes this repetition that then goes to their community. It goes to how they walk into school, goes into how they walk into church, it goes into how they hold themselves in the grocery store. And those are things that are hard to learn without repetition of what they're doing. At the same time, we're dealing with families that don't get a lot of respite. 24 hours a day, they're with that special needs child. And so now all of a sudden, they're meeting 2 or 3 other parents. They're bringing a blanket and doing a picnic outside while their kids are being taken care of inside and doing their lesson. But they're also able to just breathe, take a moment, and then realize that they're not alone. And so Saddle Up, as much as it's about the horses and it's about the kids and young adults that we work with, it's also about the families that we serve and making sure that they feel supported in what they're doing. Here's where we're at. We've been around for 35 years. We serve 500 riders annually, probably another 1,000 through the other outreach opportunities that we do. 5,000 hours of programming, and no rider pays more than $35 an hour. Most of our families are on a sliding scale, paying as little as $0, because we know of what the work that does happen at Saddle Up. We have 28 horses in our herd. We treat our herd just as important as the kids we serve and the families we serve, because we're serving them also. These horses are seeing chiropractors. They're seeing, vets on a regular basis. They are well taken care of. So even as an older horse, they're often getting treated just like they were in their first round. And then we've got over 17,000 hours of volunteering annually. So this is everything from being a sidewalker and being trained on how to be part of the lesson time as much as it's mucking stalls and feeding horses. We have a very dedicated crew that shows up every morning at 6 a.m. to throw hay and make feed buckets. So it takes everyone to make sure that the farm is running. Future plans, you see here is a rendering. We're currently in the middle of a $12 million capital campaign and expansion. This expansion will actually add about 5,000 square feet to our building. One side of it will be a volunteer center. We actually don't have a space for volunteers. They literally change their shoes into boots sitting on their back of their cars and trucks, and so we need a little bit of space for them. So that's going to be their area, and then we're building 2,500 square feet on the opposite side of the building for a much larger therapy gym, including a horse simulator. So imagine a full-size horse with no legs, video screens in front of it, often great for kids that are really afraid to get on horses right off the bat, or maybe they took a tumble, they're not really sure they want to get back on, but we can do everything that we would do on a horse on the simulator, as well as an equine assisted learning center. So it's a classroom that our horses actually can walk right into. So it is pretty special. With this plan, you'll see the outdoor arena, the big shed. We have currently an 18,000 square foot arena that is not covered. So you can imagine right now we're not riding in it, it's too hot. So with a shed, we actually could get probably 3 seasons out of that riding space and just ultimately increase how many kids and families that we can serve. Currently, there's about a 2-year waiting list. So unless you are really advantageous and think, oh my gosh, I have a small child, we probably will land at Saddle Up, let me get on that waiting list now. They're often waiting much longer in order to have a space as that child grows up. So with the expansion, we should see at least 30% additional riders, therefore serving more families. So it's very special out here in what we're doing, and Williamson County has been so great to Saddle Up. I go anywhere and say, I'm the new CEO at Saddle Up, and people are like, oh my gosh, my nephew was there, or my son did something there. Like, it has been amazing. And so the hope is that this legacy just continues to grow by allowing more families and children and young adults to be served through this expansion.
Great. Thank you, Tina. Any questions for Tina? So I have one. You have survived in your first 90 days. Your probably biggest fundraiser, right? The Music City Grand Prix.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that event. It was on May 30th. So she's a week out. She's probably rested up a little bit from that.
Yeah. So we have 2 long-standing fundraisers. The Music Country Grand Prix is what they call a hunter jumper. So if you imagine horses jumping over fences, that is what hunter jumper is considered. So it was about 500 of our closest, most fabulous friends out at Brownland Farm it's always the Saturday after Memorial Day. The other one that we have coming up is Truckers for Charity. It is a polo event that will be in September. Again, 1,000 of our closest, most fabulous friends out at Orrin Ingram's polo farm. And so that will be going on sale in beginning of July.
And your website is?
SaddleUpNashville.org.
I always want to say that. So I think Mark is going to win the prize for being the newest resident of Williamson County. I'm not sure he's fully a resident yet, but we're gonna take it that way. And I'd love to introduce Mark Flesher, the executive director of Studio 10, our theater company.
Thank you. So when Mindy asked me to talk today, I started thinking about something that's come up frequently since I've arrived in Franklin 4 months ago. A lot of the articles and announcements regarding my appointment said the following phrase: he has 30 years of theater experience. So I started thinking about, what has 30 years of theater actually taught me? And after thinking about it, very little about theater, the answer surprised me. The real lessons, I would say, have had to do with relationships, belonging, and the places we choose to invest ourselves. And before I share what ultimately got me here to Franklin, I thought that I should start where I started, which was I grew up in Texas where I spent more than 30 years. And if you doubt my Texas roots, just need a little bona fides here, coming from Pittsburgh. Looking back, I would say that some of my first theater memories and lessons came from people that had nothing to do with theater. My granddaddy Howell was one of those, a native Texan. He was a retired Air Force colonel, probably the last person you would think that would have brought me into the theater or creativity. But granddaddy taught me that imagination could transform ordinary objects into something extraordinary. An upside-down picnic bench from the table, wrapped in plastic bags, was my canoe. A giant cardboard box, my spaceship, and the one I love the most, a couple sticks, a blanket, and a kite, is a tent that is held up magically by the wind. Then performing entered my life. As a toddler, I danced to the brass bands at Disneyland. My parents took me to see Mary Poppins, my first movie in the theater, and spent most of the movie trying to get me to sit down and stop singing and dancing. And then when I was 12, my parents took me to see a chorus line, and my mind was blown. And I became at that moment what is affectionately, and at times not so affectionately, known as a theater kid. So I had a remarkable and occasionally demanding theater teacher in high school named Mr. Steele. And this is where one of the most important lessons came from. That lesson from Mr. Steele was we had to be the person who says hello in the halls. This meant for him that his students were expected to know the names of people in the building, not just the teachers, but the office staff, the custodians, and we were expected to acknowledge them by name. And at first I thought, what is the big deal about this lesson? But I'm going to tell you something. Once you start greeting people by name, something changes. That leads to a conversation, and as a high school student, you stopped seeing these people simply as their jobs, and you saw them as, well, people. And that lesson has followed me into college, into theater, and into leadership of multiple theaters. See, because what has always interested me is not the performing side, but it's what happens when people come together in a shared space and have an experience that is shared together and leave a little changed as you go out. Now, I've had the privilege of exploring that idea in communities of very different sizes across this country, and each place has taught me a little something different on my way to Franklin. Texas taught me that relationships matter. Chicago taught me that excellence matters. New York taught me to think big. And Glens Falls taught me that community is personal, and Pittsburgh taught me that my presence matters. For example, one lesson about excellence came from a mentor named Martha Levy, who was the artistic director of Steppenwolf Theater Company in Chicago. And Martha described theater to me as tossing a stone in a lake. The stone is the production, the splash is the performance. And what lasts are the ripples. And sometimes those ripples comfort us, sometimes those ripples challenge us, and sometimes they help us see one another differently. But they always, no matter what you're doing, change the water. And as my career took me from one community to another, that lesson sat with me until I finally figured out what I think Martha was really telling me was not about the stone. Because before you can decide what stone to toss, you have to know the lake. Pittsburgh reinforced that lesson for me every day. You have to be present, not just in your building, not just in your lobby at shows, but out in your community, in your schools, in the life of the community your theater serves. And that theater companies, in my mind, are strongest when they're woven into the fabric of what they're doing in their community. So one of the programs I'll just share that I'm proudest of in Pittsburgh is called Gallery of Heroes. These are original musicals about people and events from local history. That would be Andrew Carnegie, Roberto Clemente, young George Washington. And these productions toured to schools and connected directly to social studies, curriculum, and teaching guides created by historians at the local history museum. But the real goal was bigger than history and seeing a musical. It was helping young people understand that they were part of an ongoing story in their community. It was showing them that the names of the buildings and the neighborhoods and the streets and that they called home weren't just names, and that they, as students, were in fact going to write the next chapter in their community. And looking back, those lessons from Texas to Pittsburgh and the places in between shaped how I think about my leadership and the role a nonprofit professional theater can play in its community. And that brings me to the question that I probably have been asked more than any other since I accepted this position. Why would I come to Franklin? Why leave Pittsburgh after 12 wonderful years? Why leave an organization with an 80-year history and a national reputation? Well, see, a few years ago, I took a trip. My wife and Holly came up to Franklin to visit friends. My friend Patrick Cassidy and Melissa had moved here, and like anyone who's proud about what they do, Patrick wanted me to see Studio 10. So we spent a few days exploring Franklin, and we went downtown. And what struck me simply wasn't that Franklin was beautiful, it was the sense of connection. I saw people stopped who talked to one another. I saw people lingering with one another, and they seemed invested in the place where they lived, and not just the place, but the people around them. And that fascinated me as I then went to the factory and saw a show. Because out there I saw restaurants, shops, businesses, and a theater, and an ecosystem. And Studio 10 wasn't separate from that activity, it was woven into it. So after that holiday weekend, I went home and I started to go back and run the theater company I love so much. But the experience of Franklin and Studio 10 stayed with me. And sometimes later, a casual conversation with Studio 10 board president Tony McAllister back there, I made an offhand comment. If an opportunity ever arises, you should give me a call. As it turned out, Tony remembers and takes these comments seriously, and when the opportunity eventually arose, he called. The more I considered that offer, despite loving CLO as I do, the more I realized what had stayed with me from that trip had that first visit. I saw an opportunity to take values that I had shared with you that I spent 30 years developing, relationships, belonging, being present, and apply them to a new chapter in my life. And I saw a theater company doing already incredibly meaningful and high quality work, but I saw an opportunity to build upon that foundation, not change it, build upon that foundation to reach more people, create more partnerships, and have greater impact in the community in which it is woven. Because theater to me is deeply connected to the community around it, and it becomes more than entertainment when that happens. It becomes a gathering place, a place where neighbors, friends, and even strangers spend some time together, breathing the same air, seeing the same show, sitting in the same silence, having same laughter. And I realized that Franklin was the kind of place where those connections matter and wouldn't end after the curtain came down. I look forward to it being in a place where someone might come up to me at a grocery store and want to talk about the show they just saw, and that it stuck with them, that the ripples mattered. And I said yes, and I started my next chapter. But after 30 years of leading theaters and communities across the country, I learned that before you can help shape that organization, you first have to understand the community you're in. You have to know the lake. So one of the things I've learned working in communities of every size is that you can't simply take the ideas I've learned somewhere else and apply it to where I am. Every community has its own history, its own challenges, its own culture, its own strengths. And the lessons I learned in those cities are valuable, I don't deny that, but they aren't a blueprint. They're tools. And that's one of the reasons I'm seeking out opportunities to meet people, opportunities like being in Leadership Franklin in the fall. See, I want to learn about Franklin and Williamson County, and I want to do it alongside others who care deeply about this community. The ideas I know that I've got from the other 30 years of theater matter, but they only become valuable when they can be adapted to the place where they're being done. So what excites me to be here is to learn about Franklin. In the 4 months, I've learned a lot, but there's a lot more to go. And understanding where my experience in those 30 years can be useful, where ideas might create value, and how Studio 10 and what it's already done can continue to grow in ways that feel authentic to this place and the things that they have coming. So I want to just thank everybody for the welcome I've had. It's been an incredible opportunity already, and I look forward to knowing you and hope that we'll see you at the theater and be part of this journey. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Any quick questions for Mark? So, okay, let me come to you with the microphone.
Soon going to run out of room at the theater that you're in?
No, not at all. We got more weeks in the year. Look, I would rather see this company run more weeks than run more shows or go to a bigger theater. I think one of the things that I've experienced, and those who have been to shows like Jersey Boys or even Superstar have said to us, it is about being in that room of 300. It is I'm coming from a theater that my largest theater is 2,800 seats. It's a very different experience. I also have a 200 and a 1,200, right? But there's something about it. What I would rather see happen is, and these are for the business people in the world, doing a new show is more expensive than running a show longer, so we can amortize the expense. The most expensive part of putting up a show is putting up a show. Running it after that is not. So my goal in talking with Tony and others is how do we add performances? Superstar is the top grossing and most attended show. We had over 1,500 new households come to see that show. So you're right, there is growth, but there's a way to expand within what we do. Right now, 5 shows running 3 weeks is only 15 weeks in the building. There's more to be done within it, but I also don't want to get rid of the experience is what I think you get with 300 seats. 500 would be a little more profitable for us, but 300 is great.
Great. Let's give our panel a big thank you. Don't forget to stop by the blood assurance booth and pick up something or register for a blood drive that's upcoming. Frank Talks is monthly. July 13th is our next event. And as I mentioned, we will be at the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center over by Franklin High School. And we are partnering with our friends at Cumberland Region Tomorrow. Cumberland Region Tomorrow is much like Franklin Tomorrow. One of their missions is to engage the community, and we are going to collaborate with them on one of their community conversations. Founded in 2000, Cumberland Region Tomorrow is a nonprofit advancing responsible regional growth across the 10-county Middle Tennessee region. And they work with communities to inspire them, so we are excited to be there on July 13th at the EIC with our friends from Cumberland Region Tomorrow. So great. Our Breakfast with the Mayors is July 28th. It's one you won't want to miss. It's going to be great fun, but it will also be the last Breakfast with the Mayors with Rogers Anderson, our outgoing Williamson County Mayor. So you'll want to be there for that. Rolling Hills, October 27th is the final one of the year. Mayor, you want to come up and join me for a minute? We're going to talk about this at halfway. So Franklin, the city of Franklin and in joint application with Franklin Tomorrow have been nominated and are finalists for All-America City.
Yeah. Elected as an All-American City in 2020, and we haven't stopped since then. That was just the beginning of work to continue to build our community, and we were one of 20 communities selected this time. And so we're headed to Denver the last of the month and make a presentation and bring home another banner for All-American City. So we appreciate this partnership that we have with Franklin Tomorrow and the great work that they do. And there's so many things we couldn't do without Franklin Tomorrow in our community.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. We do want to say that partnership opportunities are available. It's expensive to take a team to Denver for the days we have to be there, but we're excited to go and be part of that and represent Franklin. 10 National Civic League makes this selection, and 10 of the 20 cities that are finalists will be selected, and we hope to come home with another banner to joyfully hang in our downtown. If you want to join in showing your pride, we have these 2 T-shirts with twine graphics available on our website. The Franklinite T-shirt was one we did a few years ago in 2020 when we were identified as an All-America City. And then the blue shirt is our America's 250th shirt. And would love to see those all over town. Maybe when we come back and we have the ability to put that emblem on our sleeve, we might do them again as well. But we're very excited. And the shirts do benefit Franklin Tomorrow. Twine Graphics is great to work with nonprofits to make it a valuable experience. And so we're really appreciative of that. Thank you so much for being here today. My script was in Sarah's bag, not my bag. So hope you've enjoyed today. We have a few minutes. I'm gonna ask Brandy to come up here and tell us about the Carousel of Giving and who, or give her the microphone, Mark. The Carousel of Giving and who the 3 new recipients are.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. So I am on the board of Franklin Tomorrow, and I'm very honored to be a part of that organization for 15 years and counting. But my day job is I'm the executive director of a relatively new nonprofit. We were a year old last weekend, called The Circle of Giving. We are the Factory at Franklin's nonprofit arm, but we are the operator of the Carousel of Dreams. So every time you ride an animal, and I say animal because we are a carousel, not a merry-go-round. The difference is a merry-go-round is all horses, and we have a menagerie. Some of our menagerie sponsors are in the room. Thank you for that. But as of last Sunday, we ended our first year, and we woke up on Monday morning with 3 new beneficiaries, and I'm still practicing them. I don't want to forget. The first one is Brightstone. Everybody's familiar with Brightstone, that serves adults with disabilities and intellectual disabilities. And then we also have a relatively different nonprofit, Show Hope, which is an adoption organization founded by Stephen Curtis Chapman and Mary Beth Chapman. Our money specifically will go for medical expenses of Williamson County residents who have adopted through Show Hope. And then, look, I'm brain dead. The last one, yes, Friends of Williamson County Animal Center, which is their nonprofit arm. Very excited to partner with them. I can see us doing adoption events at the Carousel and having maybe lean on their volunteer base, because what we've learned in 1 year is the more volunteers we have, the more money we can give away. So if you're interested, Connie Bond is one of our volunteers in being, look, I'm having a commercial here, in being a volunteer at the Carousel. Shifts are 2 hours long. It is a joyful, joyful place at the factory. And our riders are not only children, but every walk of life. So thanks for the opportunity. CarouselDreams.com.
So I think I want to take a lesson from today, and I hope you'll take a lesson from today to get engaged in our community, find a way you can serve our community, but also look up. Be looking for ways to be engaged. Be able to say good morning to someone. I was driving over here today down Main Street after picking up the coffee at Frothy Monkey, and there was a guy walking down the street, and his nose was in his phone. Look up. Say hi. It's shocking sometimes when I say good morning or good afternoon to somebody on Main Street, and they almost fall over, But let's be a friendly community, too. We are the most generous community we can imagine, and certainly we appreciate that. And we celebrate it. Mayor Moore did so much celebrated it at his State of the City address recently. We're so lucky to live where we live and to be able to do what we do to help our neighbor, but there's always something else that can be done. So go out and make it a great day, and hopefully we will see you on July 13th at the EIC. Thank you.